Let's take a look at this story now. South Africa's 2026 State of the Nation address. It will be delivered later today at the Parliament in the city of Cape Town. The address comes at a time when Africa is set to become the world's fastest growing economic region, with rising trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area. We speak to Jason Hamilton, lecturer in Corporate and Development Finance at Stellenbosch Business School, and talking about how South Africa can seize this moment and position itself as a hub of African trade and investment. Jason, good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What are your key expectations from today's SONA or State of the Nation address? What should government be prioritizing to make this address truly impactful?
Well, I think context is also important because amid this global volatility, the geopolitical and trade tensions, this disruption of long-term entrenched pillars of international order, Africa as a continent is becoming one of a resilient or resilient economies and really provides us with guarded optimism. So again, while the world the world engine is actually sputtering, Africa is gradually picking up steam, and South Africa specifically is one of the continent's obviously largest economies, and we must seize this opportunity. So from SONA, we need to see strong signals of bold and concrete agendas of participation in the African economy, and really an opportunity of unblocking structural hurdles standing in the way of business expanding, investment, and obviously employment creation. So in brief, a key focus areas that should be modernized is regulation, cutting red tape, facilitating ease of doing business, focus on infrastructure, electricity, logistics, and digital infrastructure. And of course, through all of this, addressing youth unemployment through the emphasis of digital skills, technical trades, and of course, entrepreneurship. And Africa really has a key role to play in accelerating trade diplomacy and also regional leadership.
You've spoken about the need for a bold but concrete economic plan. Which announcements in the SONA would signal that the government is serious about growth and investment?
I think it comes down to, and there's a few probably on each of these items I mentioned, but I think an important one is leadership, and I'm going to link it to regulatory reform. So for South Africa to become a magnet for investment and innovation, it means cutting this red tape, modernizing our regulations to ease the process and cost of doing business, spanning from simplifying business registrations and licensing to also more flexible labor regulations, specifically aimed at small businesses, to clear and have a consistent policy in sectors like mining and telecoms. And if we want to be both local or attract both local and foreign investors to bet on South Africa and create jobs in the process, we have to signal that this bureaucracy will not stand in the way. So predictable, investor-friendly rules can unleash entrepreneurship and attract capital that is currently wary. And I think critically, we must also then support our SMEs in becoming export ready and providing trade finance information, and specifically also through a digital agenda for South Africa, but the continent, to help generate Africa traders emerge.
Yes, on that digital economy, we know there are challenges, and not just on that, but also in energy and transport. So what should citizens be and investors also be looking out for when it comes to SONA in terms of infrastructure development on those particular sectors?
I think infrastructure has been key on the agenda for quite some time, and this, of course, is good to see. But it's also important to make sure that whatever plans and strategies we have spoken about needs to translate into concrete action. And I think a very, very strong positive move forward has been that our power grid and Eskom has been stabilized. We haven't seen load shedding for quite some time, but we still need to continue the agenda of adding renewable energy and focusing on effective distribution of power and enabling private investment into the grid as well. However, this is only part of it. We need effective logistics. That's the backbone of SA's competitiveness. So through streamlining logistics, urgent upgrade to our infrastructure, and this is rail, this is port, this is border post, to really handle the increased trade, but specifically increase inter-Africa trade. And I think what's often missed is also the digital infrastructure. So broadband, 5G, data centers, government should spur investment, both public spending and attracting private capital to expand internet access, specifically in your underserviced rural communities and townships, so that the digital economy becomes entrenched, but also doesn't leave certain communities behind. And this is really where the opportunity lies from a fintech perspective, entrepreneur perspective, and a digital agenda to really open up Africa trade to local South African, or actually to all South Africans across the continent.
Red tape is something that's often spoken about, and that's highlighted as a barrier. How important is it for SONA to address this particular issue and outline the specific regulatory changes?
Yeah, I think again, yeah, Africa has got South Africa has got a leading role to play, and I'm going to link it to something I think that's sometimes often missed as well, and this is in general, um, again, making it investor friendly, but then improving the ease of doing business. But this also relates to trade diplomacy and regional leadership, and I think the regional leadership is one that's important. So South Africa really should leverage its position in the Africa Union, in BRICS, and all the other things we're part of, to really push for much greater economic cooperation, as well as working to resolve regional conflicts and instabilities that threaten these trade routes. So from that perspective, SONA should really address progress in concluding key elements of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that are still under negotiation, which includes intellectual property, competition policy, investment rules. And South Africa can and should lead by example by implementing a lot of these agreed protocols. So here our diplomacy and our diplomatic energy should lean into the South to South cooperation, aligning obviously with the global South trends of countries increasing trade with each other and remaining non-aligned amid these greater power clashes is going to be detrimental. So South Africa can be the voice of multilateralism and open trade, even as others turn to protectionism, specifically if we look at our traditional partners. And that stance can really benefit not just South Africa, but all Africans.
Unemployment. Nearly half of South Africa's youth is unemployed. What should be addressed on that front?
Well, I think a lot of the things we have mentioned now briefly, I think touches indirectly on that. But yes, we need to see focus on education, skills, and youth. I think South Africa, irrespective of how you measure this, and I think you can see this, I think youth unemployment is sitting at about 46%. And this, of course, is more than just a statistic. It's really a social time bomb. And this needs to be a focus to bring more people into the economy, but from a job creation perspective, but also then from a entrepreneur's perspective. So here too, I think SONA should address overall in our education system, focus on vocational training programs to close that gap between what schools produce and what the market is really demanding. And here too, emphasis should be on digital skills, technical trades, and in entrepreneurship. The capabilities needed really in a diversified modern economy for the continent, but also for the globe. So expanding entrepreneurship and internship incentives can give young people critical work experience which gives them
Yeah.
makes them far more employable, and of course also able to follow a entrepreneurial route. So government, but this is important also. It's not up to government alone. Government, in partnership with industry and educational institutions, should scale up the learn to earn programs in sectors like manufacturing, technology, green energy, and really targeted support for entrepreneurship as well. So we need to focus on incubators, mentorship programs, and this can really
Yeah.
unleash um, startups and create jobs rather than only job seekers.
Thank you so much, Jason, again for your time. We'll leave it there. We appreciate it. Jason Hamilton is lecturer in corporate and development finance at Stellenbosch Business School.